Greetings, dear friends. Your invaluable support is our strength. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video. This greatly helps the growth of our channel. Leave your comments. Your feedback is very valuable to us. And now, to the most important and current world events. Let's go.
The Air Forces of South Korea and the USA conducted joint exercises deploying American B-1 strategic bombers. Each of them can carry 24 nuclear bombs on board. Squadrons of F-16 and F-35 were also airborne. According to the Associated Press, the maneuvers were conducted specifically on the anniversary of the birth of North Korea's founder, Kim Il-sung. They demonstrated strength after Pyongyang promised to oppose Washington's policy of eliminating North Korea's nuclear program. RBC Main News in the studio. Sergei Krasnov, hello. The U.S. did not support the G7 statement, though condemning Russia's strike on Ukrainian military in Sumy, Bloomberg reports. And Canada, which currently chairs the G7, stated that without Washington, the statement is meaningless. On Sunday, after the missile strike, 35 people were killed and 117 were injured. The Russian Ministry of Defense clarified that 2 Iskander missiles targeted a meeting of commanders of the Ukrainian Armed Forces Group, Seversk. More than 60 military personnel were killed. As stated by the Berdichev administration, among the dead was the commander of the 27th Rocket Artillery Brigade of the Ukrainian Armed Forces, Colonel Yuri Yula. Verkhovna Rada Deputy Bezuli and Konotop Mayor Semenichin stated that the head of the Sumy administration, Volodymyr Artyuk, organized the military award ceremony in the city center and even publicly warned about it, so he should resign. Artyuk himself confirmed the award ceremony but stated that the order came from above. After the attack, Volodymyr Zelensky did not report anything about the military and demanded a strong response from the West. And today Artyuk was dismissed but without instructions. The reason? The armed forces of Ukraine violated the moratorium by attacking the Vinogradov substation in the Kherson region, resulting in 102 settlements temporarily losing power. This affects more than 56,000 people. This was reported by the regional administration. In Kursk, a woman was killed and 9 people were injured due to an attack by Ukrainian drones. 24 apartment buildings were damaged, 3 of them severely. An ambulance station was also hit with 11 vehicles damaged there. According to the Russian Ministry of Defense, air defense forces shot down 115 Ukrainian drones. The investigative committee has opened a case on terrorism. The Ukrainian ambassador in London, former commander-in-chief of the armed forces of Ukraine, Valery Zaluzhny, urged Ukrainians to be ready to kill.
Dying for Ukraine, for your people, is not enough. You also need to make a second decision, which is also very difficult and very important. The second decision is that you must be ready to kill. And it is precisely the readiness not only for self-sacrifice, but also the readiness to kill for Ukraine.
Russia positively evaluates the negotiations with the United States on resolving the conflict in Ukraine, but there are no specific timelines yet, the Kremlin stated.
No. I can't hear you. But Dame, there is political will to move towards this agreement. And I repeat once again, we very positively evaluate all the constructive and consequential contacts we have.
The president of Russia wants to achieve peace on a permanent basis, stated the U.S. President's special envoy Stephen Witkoff, commenting on the meeting with Vladimir Putin. He indicated that an agreement is being outlined for a settlement between Moscow and Kyiv. And he noted that one of the key points is the recognition of the new regions by Russia.
We need to meet it in the way that it took a while for us, in the way that it took a while for us in us. It took us some time to come to this. So, besides the ceasefire, we have an answer to what Putin is calling for. It is the establishment of a permanent peace. The peace agreement concerns these 5 territories, but it is not limited to that. It also includes security protocols. This means the absence of NATO, the application of NATO's Article 5. There are many more details. It is a complex situation that, as you know, involves really problematic issues between the 2 countries. But I think we might be on the brink of something that could prove to be very, very important for peace overall. Things happening between them.
The advisor to the American president believes that the relations between Russia and the USA can be reshaped through commercial cooperation. The talks between Witkoff and Putin took place on April 11th in St. Petersburg, and the Kremlin reported that they discussed the settlement in Ukraine. According to Reuters, Witkoff suggested that the U.S. president support Russia's right to new regions, as this would be the quickest path to peace. Trump himself has not yet made a decision, but he said that there might soon be good news. Meanwhile, Volodymyr Zelensky expressed outrage over the discussions about territories.
And so here, at the Stashes station, you know that for us these are red lines, recognizing any territories as not Ukrainian but Russian. Therefore, the relevant U.S. representatives you mentioned are discussing matters beyond their competence.
Earlier, Volodymyr Zelensky stated that Russian narratives prevail in the United States. After that, Trump called him incompetent. U.S. Vice President Jay Divins said that it is absurd on Zelensky's part to say that the states are on the side of the Russians, even though it is only thanks to Washington that Kiev can wage war. A number of Trump's advisors insist on new sanctions against Moscow. This is reported by the Wall Street Journal. The group, which, according to U.S. officials, includes Secretary of State Marco Rubio and Special Representative for Ukraine Keith Kellogg, recommended exercising greater caution in relations with Putin, and to take a tougher stance regarding Moscow's demands for territorial concessions from Kiev. A peaceful resolution for Ukraine implies its non-nuclear neutral status, demilitarization and denazification, the repeal of all discriminatory laws, and the recognition of the sovereignty of Russia's current borders. This was stated by the director of the Russian Foreign Intelligence Service, Sergei Narishkin. A two-day security meeting on the Black Sea has begun in Turkey in light of a possible ceasefire between Russia and Ukraine, as reported by TRT Haber Channel. Military attachés from Britain, France and Ukraine have arrived. This was stated by Volodymyr Zelensky, but Russia is not participating. The discussion is about ensuring navigation. Earlier, the U.S. announced the possible resumption of the grain deal. Moscow has outlined 6 main conditions for this. These include lifting sanctions on grain and fertilizer supplies, removing obstacles for Russian banks that service such contracts, and connecting them to the SWIFT system. The resumption of supplies to Russia of spare parts and components for Western agricultural machinery, resolving all issues with ship freight and food supply insurance, as well as ensuring logistics. Europe's largest low-cost airline, Ryanair, may postpone the purchase of Boeing aircraft if they become more expensive due to new tariffs, stated the company's CEO, Michael O'Leary. The company wanted to purchase 25 more aircraft. And China has already stopped purchasing aircraft from the American company. On this news, Boeing shares immediately fell by 10%. Beijing did this in response to Washington's decision to raise tariffs for China to 145%. The tariffs more than doubled the cost of aircraft and parts. So now it's simply unprofitable for Chinese companies to work with Boeing. But the last contract is most likely to be fulfilled. China purchased 10 units of the 737 MAX model even before the tariffs were introduced. Meanwhile, Boeing itself stated that the escalation of the trade war will cause significant damage. In Beijing, they say they will look for other suppliers. Instead of being uncertain about themselves.
In the face of external uncertainty, China will insist on joining forces rather than striking, destroying walls, or building barriers. To unite, not to divide. We will continue to expand our circle of trade friends, become a stronger center of attraction for investments, develop with quality, and be open to the outside world at a higher level to bring more stability and positive energy to the global economy.
There is no big sell-off in the U.S. bond market. This is a statement from Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent. He called the opinion that foreign states are getting rid of U.S. Treasury securities. In an interview with Bloomberg, he explained the sale of securities by the reduction of borrowed funds.
I don't think there was dumping to exit. We see in the reporting data that, in fact, the number of foreign holders has increased. Last week we had 2, or rather 3 major auctions for 10-year and 30-year Treasury securities, and we observed increased competition from foreign investors. In fact, I think it was one of those random shocks that happened. It was related to the reduction of borrowed funds. When funds are urgently needed, we are far from necessity. The necessity to take measures. Moreover, there is a large set of tools that we can use if necessary. This set includes a securities buyback program. The dollar remains the world's reserve currency, and there is still a strong dollar policy.
Last week, U.S. Treasury bonds showed the largest weekly drop since the beginning of the century. Some market participants interpreted this as a sign of declining international confidence in American assets, the Treasury itself. The U.S. is conducting its first regular buyback program since 2000, aimed at improving the liquidity of older securities. Regarding the introduction of new tariffs and negotiations for their reduction, the head of the Treasury said that the first countries to apply will have the advantage.